program or some of the stormwater participation programs. We've certainly been able to do that through the coordinating committee, and I would advise continuing to follow that path at this time.
Thank you, Graham, for that briefing. Ordinarily, one of the joys of being a supervisor is that ordinarily your advice is spot on. And I commend you for that, and I commend Ashley, your assistant at your firm, for that. And I thank you for your service to the community. But this particular time, I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
With respect to the bubble compliance issue, we're not talking about present compliance or future compliance. We're talking about expenditures that were made and how we got there. Right now, all of our sister communities have the benefit, in part, of Southeast's leadership role in getting us to the point with respect to MS4 compliance where we are now, that we all enjoy the bubble compliance. So in my book, that means they kind of owe us for that. And to the extent that we need to collect that money now and apply it to other applications having nothing to do with stormwater, time has come.
Okay. I can understand that point. I think the point was very well taken at the legislative meeting this summer, where it was pointed out that Southeast has been in a leadership position in this regard. The legislators were curious as to how that was able to happen, and I think it was due to the town's highway superintendent, current and previous, who have taken it upon themselves to work very hard to make sure that the town's roadway system and drainage system is up to date. So they deserve a lot of the credit. How they made that happen with the limited resources that they had at that point and have now is a testament to their creativity. And I think you're absolutely right in saying that perhaps the other towns in the county should look to us and say thank you. I'm just concerned that if we start making a grab for that money, we might end up hurting ourselves, the town of Southeast, and hurting the coordinating committee's chances of achieving compliance overall.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's, well, I mean, obviously we'd like this money, but would there be any restrictions, do you know, as far as what it could be used for, or I mean, would it have to go back to just MS4 stuff?
It would have to cover costs associated with water quality improvements. So if you were to make an accounting of how much the town of Southeast has incurred to date, that would have to be based upon whatever design services were incurred, whatever construction costs were incurred, equipment costs or material costs were incurred for a specific improvement. I'm sure that could be done in a retrospective way, retroactive way, looking back at the previous invoices or previous budgets. It would be certainly difficult to do, but you could possibly do it. The question would be whether the county would look favorably upon a request for funding for something that has already been implemented. The funds are supposed to be there to encourage towns to take additional actions. So I can't say for sure, since I'm not the county and I'm not the one who's approving that, whether that would or would not be approved. I'm just saying that there might be a low chance of success in that regard. Because
I know yesterday we had a meeting with the Board of Library Directors, and the supervisor brought up that he anticipates us receiving this money in 6 months or whatever, and that could be used to fund the library. So that's why I just don't know how realistic it is.
Certainly the way that the town uses the funds is reimbursement. Obviously, it's supposed to be for the one-to-one coverage of the water quality improvement. But if those funds have already been incurred, then it could be that they could go back to the general fund. I'm not sure if there is a restriction actually on that, but that's something to explore with the county.
Right, I can speak to that. Since the highway department revenues emanate from the general revenue fund, since the highway department revenues were used to apply MS4 compliance, any repayments back to Southeast would go into the general fund from whence they came, as it were. So the short answer is, yes, we can use that money. The question is, how can we get it? And if we can, when? And we have with us tonight, Graham, the county representative, Tony Hay from Southeast, who represents a portion of Southeast. Tony, are you ready to speak to this? I'm not looking to ambush you or anything. If you're on the MS4 reimbursement?
Yes, sir. Sounds good to me.
Go ahead, Tony. Yeah. Because it had been my understanding, and again, I'm not painting you into a corner.
Oh, you're not painting me into a corner, because I'm really very upset, Michael,
that you
to sit here as a representative from the town of Southeast. You came to a legislative meeting, you personally, And I sat there, and I'm going to get the tape, and I want the whole public to hear the tape, because I wanted to get reimbursement for the town of Southeast for the job well done by the highway commissioners this man just spoke of, and you didn't come to bat for the town of Southeast. I was there, and you said absolutely nothing. I am furious at what I'm hearing tonight from you. It's absolutely out. Michael, you asked me to speak. You made a big mistake. I'm going to play the tape for the public.
No, go ahead, Tony.
I spoke and wanted to get reimbursement for this town for the job well done that you're taking credit for. It was the highway commissioners that did it, and you did not come to my defense, and you basically went like that. You didn't need it. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm still going to do it. But I'm telling you right now, you had an opportunity to defend and come to my aid as your legislator for your district in the town of Southeast, and you did absolutely nothing.
I heard you, Tony. I disagree.
And by the way, I'm going to speak to this gentleman offline of why we're not going to use the EOH funds. Are you aware of why we're not doing it in the council? I will take you offline, because it's a matter of litigation. I don't know if he's aware,
Okay.
and I won't blame him for that, because that's not part of it. The county chose not to use the EOH funds. The county has guaranteed all the towns and the villages within the EOH, which does not count, of course, Phillipstown and a large part of Putnam Valley. I'm furious.
Thank you.
Now, we have,
All right, Tony,
we have guaranteed.
I'd like to partner with you to work that out if we can.
Well, wait,
Please go ahead.
let me work out.
Please go
just
ahead.
Let me just explain to the public what I can without going to executive session, okay? The county has chosen to fund it with $8 million. We have not identified.
Could you talk into the microphone?
We have not identified where the money is going to come from. We have chosen specifically not to use the EOH funds for a reason, which I will tell you offline. We have basically guaranteed each town in the watershed that we will provide $8.2 million, and it was the other 4-point-something million that's going to possibly come from whatever. We fully support that. The county did not even hesitate for 1 second to give the money to the towns and villages that are deserving of it. And the credit should be owned to the village of Brewster. Because, one, they've already come to us, and we've already given them, I think it was $250,000. And for a small village, that's quite a bit of money, and they have made a very substantial a credit toward the project as well. So the village of Brewster stands there, the town of Southeast stands there, but as a legislature, I stood there, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to get the tape, and I'm going to play it back, because I was there defending this town,
Okay,
and no
Tony,
one
I
came to
heard
my
you,
aid.
but can you speak to the issue of...
That is the issue. What was the issue? Tell me.
Tony, let me speak.
Go ahead.
With respect to the issue of the reimbursements, if the village of Brewster is being reimbursed, then the town of Southeast should be obviously entitled to be reimbursed. Is that right?
Michael.
Can you speak to that?
I tried to speak to it. The night of the meeting that you were there, I brought it up that the town of Southeast should be reimbursed for the monies they expended previous to. And you did absolutely nothing and waved me off. And I want to hear exactly what you said, because I'm telling you right now, you did not say, Mr. Hay, that's a good idea.
Wave it to you.
I'm playing the tape, Michael. I'm sorry.
Tony, please, if you can, answer the question. If the village has been reimbursed, can the town be reimbursed?
Possibly.
Okay.
I tried to do it.
Okay.
I tried
that's
to
what
do it
just
that
said.
night.
Let's partner and work on it.
We can't work on it. I will try to work on it, because you were there and had absolutely no interest in what I was doing.
I heard you, Tony. I heard you.
Zero. Remember that.
That's not the case, but I look forward to partnering with you. Tony, come down. Thank you for answering the question. Rick.
Michael, yeah, for the $250,000 for the Village of Brewster, this was a project that we put together that has not been done. We went forward to see if we could get a $250,000 contribution for east of the watershed to fund this project. Once we put the project in place, we will be reimbursed, but it's a project that has not happened yet. The previous projects we tried to get funded under MS4, we were told we couldn't be reimbursed if we'd already done it prior to getting the money. We did one project down on the Wells Brook, where we took 2 pounds of phosphorus under phase 4 out before being required to do it, and they said, tough.
They being the county? Not to interrupt you, Rick. They being, the person who said it was tough, was that DEP, the county, or who?
Yes, you couldn't get reimbursed for something you had already done prior to
Okay.
being required. So the village project hasn't been started yet. We've got approval for the $250,000 for an ongoing project that'll be reimbursed once we do it.
I
Thank you.
understand. Thanks, Rick. Graham, would you like to amplify your earlier remarks or Or have you concluded your briefing? I'm just looking not to cut you
Oh,
off.
no, I was done, so.
Okay. Any questions for Graham?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Graham. We'll continue to work on that together, and we'll enroll Mr. Hay there to help.
Okay, and Tom Fenton and I will certainly continue to
Oh, yeah.
work
I
at it.
don't-
Can you say that again?
Thanks.
I'm sorry, I didn't
I
hear you,
missed
they
that,
were
Graham.
talking over. What did you just say?
Tom Fenton and I will certainly continue to work with you to make sure that you have the information you need.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
We're going to skip item 16 because we have some folks in the audience who need to leave. I want to thank Joyce Lampert for volunteering the other day, 2 days in fact, at no cost to the town taxpayers. She volunteered in my office and gave up 2 days of work days. And she got kind of beaten up about some things, but she did a great job. And that's just life around here. Joyce, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if accolades are going out, and she left, unfortunately, because it's 11 o'clock, long overdue, I should give a special... Excuse me.
Yeah,
I
I
should
didn't-
give a
I'm
special
sure I didn't
thanks to...
recognize you, Ruth, but go ahead.
Okay. I should give a special thanks to Michelle Stancati. For a year and a half, she has attended every meeting at no monetary compensation, no compensation time. So I think if there's thank yous, she deserves it. Unfortunately, she left.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, item 14, continuation, pardon me, continuation of Route 22 update. As you know, if you're driving on Route 22, the portion is largely completed now with added lanes and so forth. So it's turned out very well. It's very attractive. I look forward to the enhancements by New York State DOT at the intersection of Milltown and 22 for next year, scheduled, pardon me, for next year. And we'll, as a board, we'll continue to push to widen 22 from 684 to Doansburg Road.
Just if I can mention, I mean,
Yes.
they did a nice job on Route 22, looks nice. I was a little disappointed, because I thought the original plan was also to improve Route 312, that they were gonna make that, 3 lanes there, that way there'd be a dedicated turning lane to go right on Red, south on 22, and then a lane that would go straight across into Value Village and McDonald's, and then the left-hand turning lane to go north on 22. Unfortunately, it appears that didn't happen, because that is a big problem, that Route 312 does get backed up all the way, sometimes up to that minor road.
Well, maybe the supervisor can find out by next week's meeting whether or not that's going to happen, since he's taken
Because I thought,
a
it
large
wasn't
measure
on-
of the credit for this. So perhaps what he can do is come back to us next week. Ruth, could you
have
put
it.
that on the agenda? And then let us know what the update is regarding that, because I also thought that I had heard from this town board that that was something that was being done, that the supervisor said was as a result of work that he had performed. So I am also interested in hearing about that.
Well, then I commend the supervisor for getting on top of this project, because this Route 22 project has been sitting around for decades. And we had promised to get on board and at least get DOT involved in this. And not that they'll pave, from 684 all the way up to Doansburg Road, but at least a portion of this project has moved along during this administration. I commend you for keeping that project on what I call the busy list. It's a matter of just going to DOT headquarters, coordinating with those individuals, and keeping this project on top. As far as continuing, they are looking to continue work also at the Milltown Road intersection, and that project looks like it'll move forward within the next year and a half. So I commend the supervisor for it, and if you're saying he's taking credit for it, I give him 100% of the credit for doing so. And we will continue as a town board to push and get the DOT to get Route 22 moving along, because it is definitely a quality of life issue.
And I know that if the state representatives didn't help us in this regard, I doubt very strongly that the DOT is just going to be simply listening to a town. So I also like to thank the state representatives who are involved in this, because clearly they have a lot more sway than this board.
Item 15, the loitering law proposal dates from a previous town board. So I invite everyone, without discussing it tonight, because the hour's late and we have to go into executive session, to examine the loitering law, see if you're comfortable with it, if you'd like to make comments on it, pardon me, and we'll address it again at a future work session.